Hey everybody, what's going on? You're watching The Sit Down. I'm DJ Sixsmith. Dr. Marty Goldstein is here with us, the dog doc, veterinarian over 40 years. Brand new documentary coming out. Doc, how are you?
I'm great. I am absolutely great.
Well, it's good to be talking to you. And obviously, you've been doing this documentary for several years right now, but coronavirus is a big story. So how has that impacted you? And how are you feeling about dogs overall right now with all this going on?
Well, I graduated Cornell Vet School in 1973. Approximately 1 out of 10 dogs got cancer. It was always a disease of the old. So if we saw a young dog with a lump, we eliminated the possibility of cancer just based on the age. Recent statistics show that 1 out of every 1.61 dogs in the United States now get cancer, and it's commonly a disease of the young. So I'm not feeling that great about the health state of our companion animals. And this is not something that's just happening. There is substantial reasons for it. I don't think, after being at Cornell for 8 years, studying intensely, that this is just bad luck. I don't think that true health care is being taught in the profession of medicine.
Have you been getting extra calls this week, last couple of weeks, with people concerned about their dogs?
Well, what's very interesting, do you remember the pet food recall disaster that happened in 2007?
Yeah.
You know, once again, we're importing stuff from China that was knocking the kidneys of dogs and cats out in the pet food. And what was very interesting is veterinary clinics' phones were ringing off the wall. And I had a national practice at that time. Mm-hmm. We were seeing people every day from all over the United States. You know how many calls we got?
How many?
3.
Wow.
And actually one was not even a client. It was a lady that lived in the condos behind our practice that just stopped in. And that's because we properly educated our clientele for years and years. So with this disaster too, because we've educated so much, and I've educated on integrative healthcare for animals for 47 years now, our clientele is not going crazy. Now, what's very interesting, I have right here, when you see the documentary, you'll see one of our main sub-themes of therapy is intravenous vitamin C at high doses. I've been using that since the 1970s. Very effective against cancer, but so many other disease maladies respond to it. The Shanghai Medical Association has released an expert consensus statement on the comprehensive treatment of COVID-19, where they endorse the use of high doses of intravenous vitamin C for the illness. Why are we hearing about this in the United States? And then there's an entire report from the NIH, the National Institute of Health, National Library of Medicine, that is showing the release of this virus in 2019 from Wuhan, China, and how vitamin C given not only can treat the disease, but prevent it from happening. Why are we hearing about that? Why are we hearing about these old anti-malarial drugs that could work, and we're not hearing about something? And the documentary so well exposes these other therapies for animals that I learned from people medicine decades ago.
Well, I think it's really good that we're talking to you right now. And like you said, you've been on the alternative track for decades. So what really inspired that, and what's it been like building this out and kind of doing your own thing in a sense and building your practice?
I was losing my health genetically way back in the 60s and 70s. And it ran in my mother's side of the family that I took after, and all the males on that side of the family are now dead. And I was chronically degenerating in the 70s. I was in my 20s, and I was just searching for answers that my doctor couldn't give me. You know, injections of long-acting cortisone that goes into my shoulder for my chronic arthritis and bursitis. And I stumbled upon healthcare for people. And when my diseases remedied, my chronic illnesses got better, it just made sense to try this on our own family pets and some of my clientele's pets. And lo and behold, it worked.
That's awesome. So in the documentary, we get this really intimate look at your practice, the dogs that come in, the humans that are dealing with the dogs. What was the most fascinating part for you in terms of letting cameras into your whole deal and kind of showing the world what your whole day is like?
My mission stems from a vision I had way back in the 1970s, where when I reversed my own illnesses and then applied it to our family pets, it also worked, is that we need some kind of integrative overhaul of the profession of veterinary medicine. So the criticism and opposition and ridicule I received when I became certified in acupuncture in the mid-70s, and now 57% of the vet schools embrace acupuncture. So I've been on a mission to get this message out, and whatever it takes, you know, I've had my own national radio shows. I've been on some of the most major TV network shows. And then when I saw Cedar Creek Production, make the documentary Buck, that blew me away. And I helped her with her dog almost 30 years ago that was terminally ill. And when she said, I want you to be my next documentary, and I saw what she did with Buck, it was like a no-brainer. Boy, can I now get the message out.
That's really awesome. So for the people who may be skeptical of alternative medication, what would be the biggest thing to try and push them the other way and just explain all the great benefits that there are?
Well, your skepticism is what I've been up against for 40 years. What makes me in a great position right now is not only am I still extremely well-versed in conventional medicine, graduating from Cornell and at one time was number 2 in my class, but I have this entire embracing of alternative medicines. And along the course of the last 40 years, I have documented, and my associates at Smith Ridge have documented, the reversal of so many, thousands of hopeless, non-responsive terminal cases. And you'll see some of that in the documentary. So what I do to ward off skepticism right now is I show the cases. So they don't have to listen to me anymore. When what got me approval and acceptance in society is not, especially the veterinarians listening to me, but seeing these cases that miraculously turned around by either stopping medication that wasn't working and or incorporating alternative medicine. So it's very easy for me to bring my point across right now is we have valuable final products called healthy animals.
Yeah, you've done some incredible work, and I'm excited for people to check this out. If there's a dog owner right now that has a dog that's struggling and they're afraid to go out because of coronavirus, or they don't want to go out because of social distancing, what would you tell those people right now?
Well, first of all, according to the recent reports from the AVMA, American Veterinary Medical Association, your pets are not going to get this disease. Mm-hmm. We've been dealing with coronavirus in veterinary medicine for years and years and years. It's never been a deadly disease. So the dog or a cat is almost definitely not going to become infected by this virus and is most likely not going to be a carrier for infection. There are some reports where they're finding in the mucosa and salivary tissues, producing tissues, some of these viruses in some old dogs, but the dog and the cat is not going to serve as a vector. So I wouldn't worry. I'd worry more about you, yourself, and your family in reference to this virus than your pets.
What's it been like for you to see a bunch of adoptions going on as well? I feel like people have kind of stepped up and taken dogs in. What's it been like to watch that as well?
Well, it's just great. I do this because I love animals. And when when so much opposition came against me, causing almost financial failure, reputation failure, the thing that kept me going was my intense love for animals and knowing that this worked. And sooner or later, it had to be accepted. I was recently at the Boulder International Film Festival, right before we hit the theaters in New York, and this major outbreak shut the theaters down. And the reception for this film was incredible. 500-600 people came to watch it. But what really struck me is, in one of the feature films there was Robbie Robertson of the band. Mm-hmm. And they showed his film, and then he did an interview after, and his words that he said just made such a major impact on me. And what he said is, when they were first touring with Bob Dylan, wherever they played across the United States and Europe, they got booed. Mm. And what he said is, we were on a mission. The world didn't get it, but now they're finally starting to catch up. And that's exactly what it's been for me. I was on a mission back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And now the world, and especially the profession of veterinary medicine, is catching up. And the documentary so well shows that. And it doesn't come out against conventional medicine. This is about integrative medicine. It's about using, we used to use the word holistic. Mm-hmm. I don't like that word that much now. Integrative is, we're using conventional and alternative together. So we're expanding our knowledge of healthcare for our patients. No brainer.
It's nice to get a little vindication, right?
Yeah, it feels, it just feels great. One of the greatest things is, when I was doing acupuncture in the 70s, that's when it started. Goldstein lost his mind. He's sticking needles in animals. He used to be a good veterinarian. And now, because it's such an accepted therapeutic modality, some of my associates, when I go to these continuing education conferences, they come up to me and say, you were so far ahead of your time. And my answer to them is, acupuncture's been here 3,000 years. I wasn't ahead of time. I'm just 35 years less behind than you. Time to wake up.
So when people do wake up and watch the documentary, what are the most important things you want them to learn and to think about when they watch?
I want them to learn how to respect their own knowledge that they have, question the authority, don't go against, but question the authority of your veterinarian that is not accepting what you know to be true, and also use common sense and realize that nature is the healer of the body, not the doctor. And when nature creates disease symptoms, a lot of times that's an attempt to get the body better. And we may not just always want to suppress those symptoms using drugs and chemicals. So, and that's it. And then the other thing too is, as I've always said, if the pet food industry was created by scientists that studied the way dogs and cats ate in nature, we would have never come to create the pet food industry as we've come to know it. A corn cereal-based industry, when if you study the mouth of a dog and cat, show me one tooth that's flat for grinding cereal and grain. So it's more of a common sense wake-up call for society.
Well, Dr. Marty, really appreciate the time. And I know people won't be going to the theater soon, but video on demand is a beautiful thing. So I'm looking forward to people checking out the Dog Doc. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And thank you for wanting to share this with society.